Oh, Alex, I am just so grateful and honored to be able to sit down with you. And it's funny, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about specifically. And I think I just want us to riff a little bit and see where it goes and sort of invite whoever's listening in on our conversation, if that feels okay. But
I feel like that's
welcome.
dangerous. Thank you.
So welcome to whatever that ends up being. But yeah, I feel like you are one of those souls that is just such the treasure of my heart.
Mhm.
You're um someone I instantly knew. Like we are going to be in one another's lives and in love for a lifetime. And I'm just so grateful for your essence and for other people to get to experience your magic a little bit. So thank you for
Thank you.
joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. When you asked me,
Oh,
I was like, absolutely, of course.
my heart.
Mhm.
Well,
For those who don't know, when I first met you,
yeah.
you had no
Yeah.
choice. Like I just came right up to you and I was like, I love you.
I'm like, "I love you
You're like,
too. Goddess,
who?
where did you come from?" Oh my god. I
I'm
know.
pretty sure that was the first couple of words that I said to you. I was like,
You
I love you.
you did, but I
So,
mean, I think we should give this background before we get into it, in that I was coming to the Intelligent Change Summit, which I just, love intelligent change and everything that they stand for, and this beautiful summit that they've hosted for the
mhm,
last few years in Ibiza, Spain. But I had no idea when Mimi Icon invited me to come. Like, I know nothing about intelligent change, this summit, anything. And so I was a little bit like, okay, well, what am I getting into? Where am I going? What is happening? And so I get off the plane, and as you just named, this like gorgeous woman walks up to me, so warm and loving. I felt like you were the universe welcoming me to this
mhm,
experience and sort of saying, like, you're gonna be okay tonight. um, but then, I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. It's so great to meet you. And then later at dinner, my inner introvert was dying because it was
mhm,
just I don't know, like all of these, fancy people in this fancy location. And it was just so beautiful and breathtaking. But also, I was deeply, a little bit just like feeling out of my element and
mhm.
intimidated. And it was like you knew and you found me and you were like, I'm just going to come sit here. I don't care what the table assignments are. And we just talked all night. And it was like, oh, okay, I'm okay now. I found Alex or you found me, but so
I
grateful for
found
you.
you.
Mm. My
I'm like,
heart.
"You're not going anywhere."
Oh my gosh. Ever, ever, ever. Please. Wow.
Yeah.
So before we start, I've been doing this thing where I pull a card before I sit down, either by myself or sit down with someone. And of course, because it's you, I pulled a card from the wild and sacred feminine. This is an
Mhm.
oracle deck. Do you know this deck?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. I feel like send it to you. You will love this deck, babe. Um, But the card I pulled, and we'll just listen and, well, we'll both tune in and see what
Mhm.
resonates as we go through the conversation. But the card that I culled, did you hear that? The card that I pull was the white buffalo calf woman, which is the card of integrity, which
Mhm.
I don't know. I just feel something there. And so it starts off with a note by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, who's one of my favorites. Every act I live while I am fully awake cannot help but be both prayer and lovemaking. Already this feels like Alex to me. Many winters ago, two Lakota brothers were out hunting when a mysterious woman appeared with bad intentions. One brother approached the woman and was destroyed in her embrace. The other brother, a forthright man, recognized the woman as a divine being and carried the message of her arrival back to his people. When the Lakota graciously received this holy woman, she presented a bundle containing a sacred pipe and instructions on how to use it in 7 sacred rites to join with all creation: the earth, the plant people, the four-leggeds, the winged ones, in walking the good red road, the path of integrity. As she left, the woman changed into a white buffalo calf, portending that when all walks of life are revered, abundance follows. White buffalo calf woman, a weighty card, calls up the enormous responsibility you share in walking on the earth in a sacred manner as if every step were a prayer. How can you maintain such radical reverence? With pure intentions and dignified actions, you manifest the central law of respect and seed a hopeful future. White buffalo calf woman may well be in your hand today as recompense for noble purpose and worthy deeds. If, however, she arrives in a dark hour, reflect on where your path has disintegrated. How might you be serving hidden agendas? White buffalo calf woman allows for mistakes and embraces forgiveness, but she teaches you that you cannot thrive if the energy you put into the world is out of alignment. While you may already sense what white buffalo calf woman is asking of you, know that unconscious forces are also at work. Look to the places where you experience discord. Like attracts like. Become more honest with yourself and make amends for any missteps. Honor yourself by honoring all existence. When you orient yourself on this axis of integrity, the good red road unfolds before you. Your living becomes an offering, not just to yourself, but to the whole circle of life that you touch, that touches you, and the earth will inherit. Take utmost care with how you walk, with beauty behind you, beauty before you, beauty all around you. Can I
It's
just tell
beautiful.
you the extent to which I was reading this and I was like, Alex, it just feels there's a way that as you walk the earth, you're certainly such a presence in every room that you enter. It's just your aura, your energetic field carries just that frequency of grace and integrity. But there's also a way that, you know, that beautiful integration of soft and strength. I don't have the words to describe it, but there's so much strength in your presence, but with so much loving reverence for all that you are and all that the people you are in relationship with are. You move that way. It's really, really such an honor to witness. But I was thinking that card is Alex. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. I've said this to
Mm,
you before. I think to be witnessed by you is a really, really great gift. So
mm,
thank you for
mm,
seeing me this way. That's really
mm.
beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, my love. It's interesting as we're reading that card, I have been thinking so much about what our role is as women and what it means to be an empowered woman lately. And I know that a lot of the work that you do is just such a potent healer and sound healer and intuitive and just all of the ways that your magic is
Mhm.
utilized. But certainly I feel like someone who is really invested as I am in supporting women in walking a path that is integrous and in alignment with the truth of who and what we truly are. And I just am wondering what you've been feeling. Well, let me start with you. What does walking the path of integrity sort of feel like or look like for you today? If I were to just start there and ask you about that.
I think that the reason why I'm so drawn to working with women,
Mm,
especially ones that are moving through transitions or are really coming home to themselves after years of maybe feeling disconnected from self, is because I was that, I am that in so many ways. And I resonate with it, So I think to answer your question of what does it feel like to walk in a path, like a path of integrity, I don't know that I have a clear answer to that, but I
mm,
know what it's like to feel out of integrity
mm,
because I've been there many, many times. And I think that sometimes we bypass our own knowing and we remain on this path. And it just kind of like, you said it best. You said so you have to get tired of your own self in order to just come right back into alignment. So I know what that feels like. to be
Mhm.
completely disconnected from myself or to feel like I'm acting in ways that don't necessarily align with my core values. And I think that that path is just as important as the one walking in integrity, if not
Mhm.
more in some ways, if not more. Like you have to feel the discomfort of that in order to kind of calibrate into this place of like, oh, this feels more grounded, you know?
Hmm.
So even the word integrity, I always sit with it and I think to myself, like integrity is integration.
Mhm.
It's integration. And in order to be in integrity, we have to integrate all these parts of ourselves, all
Yes.
these messy, inauthentic, scared little parts of us. We have to
Mm.
bring it together, you know? So
Absolutely.
that's kind of the work that I see. Yeah, especially with women.
Oof, it's so powerful because I think even you naming that walking this path of integration, if we are to call it that, requires that all parts of our path are welcome and that we don't shame ourselves for not being where we feel like we should be in any given moment. I know for me, the messy parts or the parts that feel like they are not certainly lovable by me, but that are just difficult to digest are the parts of my story, not so much that I want to disown from the past, but that I don't necessarily hold a lot of grace for now, right? Like, Danae, you
Mhm.
should know better. We've been here. Why are we still in this pattern? But I love that you name that this is just an alive, continuous practice of bringing ourselves back into the integration with all aspects of self, right?
And to allow ourselves to be witnessed in those moments. Like
Hmm.
there's something so unbelievably um, healing and integrating in being able to be witnessed
Mhm.
by, someone that we can co-regulate with and feel safe with in our messy. I had one of my best friends the other day. I think I was just doing the same thing that you were describing. I was like, I should know better, and I've done all this work, and na na na. And I said, I have this part of me that just constantly shows up, and it's this and it's that. And I started labeling it. And she just looked at me and she said, I love those parts of you. She said, I
Yes.
love those parts of you. And I just went, like I felt my body go
Mhm.
from really, really tense, like it's almost kind of seeking for like a sign. Is this safe? Is she actually and then being
Mhm.
witnessed in that. And then you just kind of, and it almost makes those beliefs about ourselves or about those parts of ourselves less what's the right word? They don't carry such a charge anymore,
Mm.
you know?
Yes. Absolutely. I love that so much. I felt emotional even as you were describing it, her saying just, "I love those parts," unequivocally, like, yes, to all aspects of you, and what I think is so important about what you're saying and what I think is often misunderstood to me about what co-regulation is when it's at its best and when it is really effective in being a healing force is that it's not something we're attempting to extract from someone. It is just sort of the natural space of presence when someone is bearing witness to who and what we are, right? Because I think there's so much of what we understand about relationships. And certainly, I think relational psychology sometimes reinforces this idea that, like, we extract something from the other that we believe that we need from them, and we may need that from them, but I think the healing comes from us not seeking to get it, but it coming just really organically in the way that you're describing. Do you know what I mean?
1,000%. I was actually driving and I was thinking about how we try to we try to heal parts of ourselves or we try to figure out parts of ourselves like through a cognitive lens often.
Mhm.
And I think now, I mean, I'm going to be a little personal, but I went through like when you go through certain situations, especially when it's like romantic and they're really
Mhm.
activating and all these little parts of ourselves are like, online and what, yeah, you're feeling very vulnerable.
Mm.
The most, the safest place that you can go to is AI. Be because you can type it all out or dictate it and
Mm,
feel like the other person or the person, the other, the tool on the other end is just going to spew out like a cognitive solution to whatever it is that the problem that you're experiencing.
mm,
Now, the problem with that is that again, it's a cognitive solution to something that is happening in an activated nervous system. And
mhm,
we're relational beings. We're relational mammals. We're social beings. And what you were describing is that when we call a friend up or we're on FaceTime and I'm coming to you and I'm dysregulated in the moment and this happened and he said this and I'm feeling this way, I'm not looking necessarily for you to spew out some sort of smart way of me moving through it.
mm,
My body is now co-regulating with your breath, with the nuance of how you look at me. I'm looking for safety cues. Am I safe here? And then my nervous system goes into that like that calm state.
mm.
So I was thinking about how dangerous it is to have the accessibility of the cognitive solutions to felt experiences that need to
Oof.
be co-regulated. And it's easier to go in that space because, again, you're not being vulnerable with a person in front of you saying, I fucked up. I did this. Can you help me with this? It's more like behind the screens where just the act of calling a friend or meeting someone and communicating and that just that act can rewire the nervous system to a felt safety.
Wow, so something just landed for me. You just opened my mind to something that I've been struggling with so much because I've really like made a decision that I'm going to open my mind and my heart to AI because I've just been so resistant, Alex. Like I feel like already I'd just been really behind. I hadn't been, using ChatGPT or, I feel like in the beginning a lot of people were doing what you're describing, just like playing with it, asking questions, asking for opinions and things like that, and I hadn't done any of that. And then I sort of noticed my response to an episode, and I talked about this in another episode of the podcast, but on Esther Perel's podcast, where she was talking to a man who'd fallen in love with his AI, right? And so
Mhm.
I had all of these like responses in me. I was like, oh no, this is a problem. A little bit because of what you're describing. And, I think it's here. And so I've sort of been like, but Danae, we can't reject the idea of, AI completely when knowing more about it. And so I've been doing digging and playing, and I've
Mhm.
actually found all of these ways that I can see where there can be a lot of supportive aspects of this
Mhm.
intelligence when it comes to how we get things done, and maybe we work in like entrepreneurial spaces, or there's things that we don't have enough hours in the day for and we can really have more time with our families and our children
Mhm.
and things like that. But the relational component, Alex, is like what you're speaking to, and I'm still like, I don't know. I think we really have to have a different conversation about what you're saying, which is it is so much easier to be witnessed by something without that level of vulnerability, and I think it's sort of a muscle that atrophies if we don't practice it, and we can just feel
Mhm.
like being in connection to other human beings is just not worth it, you know?
I almost feel like the disclaimer should be if you're going to use this tool or this intelligence to resolve some sort of relational um, issue or thing that's going on in your life, you should come to it with a much more regulated nervous system. And I think then
Mm,
you can extract what it can actually be very beneficial from this intelligence, which is
mm,
information, and information is really important, but it's that feeling of safety first. It's a feeling of
mhm.
sense of self and a groundedness before you reach for this tool. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I've definitely played with it probably a little bit more than you have
Definitely
because
more
definitely
than
more.
this guy.
Because to me it's like there's so much vulnerability. Like I'm still working through the vulnerability of being fully witnessed in my messy. Like that's
Mm.
still something I'm kind of trying to play around with and So this felt safe. And then I realized, like, actually, it's like this false safety because you're never actually rewiring your nervous system to relate to other people in the way that, you wish. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oof. It's so complex. And then, but I do think the beautiful thing about life when we trust in life is that life will bring us people like you. Cause I'm so like, I don't need AI to witness me. I don't need anybody. Just don't witness me. Like everybody stay back. And Alex will be like, I'll find you, girl. I'll like have a dream about you and tell you about what's really going on. That's the level of intuitive my
Mm.
girl is. But I want to ask you about somatics because you sort of talked about some of this bodily awareness and what has been your relationship with coming into somatics? Because I know it's certainly something that you support women in exploring now.
I think it goes back to that initial question of like integrity. And
Mm,
I mean, maybe I felt so out of alignment for many, many years. I probably have experienced that for throughout my entire childhood. And it was a beautiful adaptive mechanism for me of um, I think in some ways, I used to believe that I was very connected to my body. I used to
mm,
believe that I was very connected to my feelings. I used to believe that I was very connected to my sexuality and sensuality.
mhm.
And there were certain things that happened in the past couple years where I realized, like, girl,
Mm,
you think you are connected because I intellectualized my way through life.
yes.
And I was able to dissect things. I was able to be very hyper vigilant and pick up on certain cues. And I was able to connect with people
Mhm,
on my terms, with my like little arm kind of guarding myself. And I was able to perform sexuality and sensuality without even
mm,
knowing. It wasn't conscious.
yes.
And it wasn't until I ended up going to this beautiful tantra facilitator. At that
Mm,
point, I was really struggling in my marriage, and I was like, well, maybe she'll teach me how to connect more.
mm,
And she did this beautiful exercise of placing all of your weight onto her, so she would just hold you, which is also very vulnerable. Just thinking about it, you place all of your weight, and then it's this like open heart massage just around the chest area, like right
mm,
here. And it's literally like an open heart exercise. And I remember feeling very safe with her. And as she was doing this like massage and feeling the weight of my body just kind of collapse onto hers and being held by her, I just fell apart.
mm,
Like I just fell apart because I could sense at that point I had done a lot of like meditation and psilocybin and all these other modalities that kind of opened me up to having a little bit more awareness of the body. But I
mhm,
could sense my body kind of tensing up and resisting feeling safe. It's almost like
mm,
I was scanning even cues of safety felt like an attack of some sort, like something I had to block myself from. And that was the first moment where I said to myself, you have some work to do. And I knew
mm,
that somatically, I needed to go deeper because I could understand it all here. I was great at talking to my therapist about how I was feeling,
yes.
but I wasn't allowing myself to actually feel it. So, through breath work and so many other modalities, just like even somatic exercises of like naming the feeling, scanning the body, sitting with it,
Mhm,
not attaching a story to it. It really opened me up to understanding myself more and feeling more.
mm,
Yeah. So somatic exercises, I think, are crucial in this space. Crucial.
mm. Beautiful. I think it is so crucial because I have, over the last few years, really come into an awareness of the limitations of talk therapy and that it's precisely what you're saying. So much of what we're doing is intellectualizing our way through. Like we've got all kinds of jargon for all of the things that we may go through, but, actually allowing ourselves to be in the felt experience of our humanity. I think so often the intellectualization can just lead to so much suppression of, really the truth, right? Like, exactly like you're describing. I
Mhm,
think I
mhm.
was in therapy for years, not really talking about anything. Like my therapist and I joke, like, we never talked about like sexuality or like sensuality and like until my marriage ended. And then we like all of a sudden I was like, yeah, why did you never ask me if I was attracted to my husband? Like there were so many things that I would and she didn't because I would avoid it with the intellectualization of all of these other distractions, but I think there's a way that the body will not allow us to lie, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like we will start to have and for me, when I realized my marriage was out of alignment, my body started having all of these somatic responses and sickness indicating like, girl, you are not living in alignment with truth.
Mhm,
Um, but I think that's what's so powerful about starting to attune to that wisdom and put a little bit more emphasis on the body than like just being in the head,
mhm. I
right?
think talk therapy is beautiful and necessary.
Yes,
It
certainly.
really well,
Don't let
coming
me
from
minimize. I do that. Yes, that's very true. Just kidding.
No, I think you're honest because you know that that is one of your modalities. It's actually such a strength of yours, you know? But I think that sometimes we need another person to describe it to us so that we can kind of
Mm,
like have enough awareness here as well. Like this is important. That the
mhm.
intellectualization of things are crucial, but it has to be integrated in the body, and I think that's the part that we're working towards right now. And sometimes I even see the opposite, where people focus so much on the somatic experience, but they don't integrate it with the mind, you know, or they
Mm,
you know, you see a lot of that with plant medicine and stuff like that. People become so open, and then they don't know
yes.
what to do with it. They don't know where to go with it, and that could be really, I think, harmful in some ways. Um, I actually had this thought because I was listening to the podcast, the Polyvagal Theory
Mm,
podcast yesterday, and he was talking about all the different states of like nervous system. And for those of you who don't know, there's like you know the fight or flight um, nervous system, and then you have like a more relaxed, calm, open, balanced, which is the ventral. And
mm,
then you have like the dorsal vagal, which is like a freeze response. It's when people often will disassociate or, you know, kind of shut down. It's like an immobilization of the nervous system. Anyway, so I was listening to it and I'm driving and I was thinking about your work and how you do a lot of this relational work and you talk about the energetics, the masculine, the feminine, and even
mm,
you know some of the attachment theories of like the anxious avoidant and how we tend to play into it. And I was thinking like, huh, you know, our nervous systems are like these antennas, right? And they oscillate. Like we sometimes go into that you know, fight or flight, or sometimes we'll go into that disassociative state. Sometimes we feel more balanced and open.
mm.
But I was thinking how oftentimes we will choose our partners based on kind of similar to the anxious avoidant, we'll
Yes.
choose our partners based on those opposite nervous systems as well. So if you're someone that's highly like in that fight or flight, oftentimes you'll kind of reach for someone who's maybe a little bit more disassociative in order to kind of like balance one another. And I thought like if we are
Huh.
these antennas, walking antennas, maybe that's the point. Maybe we kind of bring in people that mirror certain parts of us to calibrate our nervous systems into like a more parasympathetic state, you
Okay,
know?
see, this is like kind of blowing my mind, but so it's not so much that we would be drawn to someone who is necessarily regulating, but it's not necessarily even about co-regulation so much as someone who's mirroring the same adaptive strategy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and in some ways, sometimes they mirror very it's almost like the pendulum has to swing one way or another in order to find its way. And what Dr. Stephen was talking about on the podcast is that sometimes when, let's say, someone has experienced significant trauma, and let's say that person is constantly in a fight or flight. They will view the world in that way, right? So they
Mhm.
will start viewing the world, they will start searching their environment for cues of non safety. of being under attack. And sometimes, in order to kind of balance it into that more parasympathetic state, that individual with that heightened nervous system will go towards someone who's more disassociative, aka maybe avoidant, just kind of throw it out there,
It's
you
clicking. I understand
know.
now. You started speaking in
So,
my language. I love that.
yeah, instead of using like, the attachment theories, it's more like, can we look at how we gravitate towards certain nervous systems because we are actually just trying to calibrate. He was
Mm.
also talking about how important it is to co-regulate, but sometimes when you're in this heightened state of either disassociation or fight or flight, even someone who feels really safe, if you're searching for non-safety cues, that feels like, uh, can I trust you here? And that almost puts you more on guard. Anyways, just, I don't know. It's a work in progress, but I was thinking about that. I'm like, I really need to focus on my nervous system to attract the right partner.
But
you know?
it's so much. I mean, I feel like there's so much crossover on so many layers of the conversations. I was just listening to a friend of mine who was talking about just being aware of what we're attempting to do to regulate our nervous system with the foods that we eat, right? Like if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I will look for stimulus. I will just sort of intuitively look for that. Or if I'm feeling like really like I need comfort, I will start to find foods that are sort of depressive and that will make me go to sleep. So I'll start eating a bunch of pizza, right? Um, and I think there's a way that if we understand there's so much intelligence in what our sort of reflexive response is to whatever's been unaddressed, then certainly we can have so much more compassion for ourselves. But also, there's a way of just bringing a lot of the personal responsibility into, like you just said, right? Like if I have a different relationship with what is going on in my nervous system, I will start to attract something different in partnership. And that's,
Mhm.
it's just, I forget exactly how you said it a moment ago when you were talking about nervous system, but I think there's something so powerful in understanding. Oh, I remember what you said. You were talking about how if we've experienced a lot of trauma that will really be mirrored back to us in the lens of what we're experiencing in the world. And I feel like there's so much of that collectively right now. And we're not
Mhm.
really teaching, well, all of us, how to understand that our experience of reality is so fundamentally shaped by what our experience has been up to this point. Not to shame ourselves, but to really understand we are continuing to reinforce what we've experienced through what we're looking for. And the work is really to come inward
Mm.
and start to figure out how to soften into the space of being with ourselves versus looking for the world externally to change, because the
Mm.
world just mirrors what we've experienced up to this point or what we believe to be true. Mm.
Part of the reason why I came up to you and said, I love you at the airport was because I didn't know, I just knew, but was
Mhm,
because I actually got off social media for about a year prior
mm,
to being at Intelligent Change. There was a lot going on in the world. October 7th happened, and I just felt
mhm,
like everything was just it was felt too flooding to my nervous system.
mhm,
But before that, I consumed a lot of your content. I just kind of came across it, and it would just be you sitting in a circle
mm,
talking. And you talked about really like taboo topics, but you brought so much it felt really spacious and
mm,
open and non-judgmental, but still kind of still pointed the responsibility at the person that's consuming the content in a beautiful way, not in a shaming
mm,
way, but in like this is where you get to step into yourself by taking
mm,
responsibility for these things. And I think that's where I fell in love with you because it felt like this is a very safe space to explore parts of ourselves that we tend to repress or we tend to blame others for.
mm,
So yeah, like it was a very safe place to go inwards. And it's not like that all the time, I find, especially in the social media world. I find there's a lot of
mm,
binary ways of looking at things that can create a lot of shame for most people.
mm. Well, thank you for that love, and it's such a mirror of what I have experienced in my friendship with you and the way
Mm.
that I experience you holding space for others in the world. So, yeah, that's, very much that namaste energy. as you describe it, and it's interesting because I feel like something I was hungry to talk to you about is just what's been sitting on my heart in terms of the state of the world, and I don't know, Alex, I feel like on so many levels, I've just been thinking about, well, 2 things. There's a way that Carl Jung had this conversation or this concept around our survival as a human species will depend on our ability to hold the tension of the opposites, and that multiple things can be true at the same time,
Mhm.
and that until we really embrace the shadow, some of what we were talking before within ourselves, it's really difficult for us to tolerate it externally, and we will sort of make that something that is separate from me and that needs to be eviscerated and attacked, and, um I've just been really sitting with a lot of wanting to call women into the space that you're describing, like calling my sisters into the space of like your power center does not live outside of your skin, sister. Like cannot, will not, does not ever. And that I think the other thing is that we're living through the end of a paradigm of dominance, I believe. And that's why everything feels so loud because it's just the power over structures and the way that we've sort of dominated
Mhm.
different cultures and different people and, genders, all of the things are like we're really like it's bringing brought to the surface so we can look at it, right? But I'm curious what your thoughts have been just on like when you think about empowerment for us as women, like I experience you as someone who is such like it's like quiet power. Like, there's
Mhm.
so much power in the way that you move, but it's like, you know how maybe you know, I feel like I have a few friends that can say like a few words, but when they speak, there's so much intention and potency in every word that
Mhm.
comes out of their mouth. You're one of those people for me, Alex. Like, you are so intentional with the words that you speak and the way that you speak them. And I'm like, more of that, my sisters, like, more of, um, like, knowing that our power is not what we think of as power and what we've been taught to believe power is. Do you know what I mean?
But you're also you hold me accountable and you gently like you put a mirror up to me and you're like, actually, are you playing safe? And you're not, you
Mm.
have never said it this way.
It's like, I did not.
You have
I
never
would never.
communicated, but you always, in this most like loving way, just kind of look at me and go,
Mhm.
step into that light. Like, don't be afraid.
Mm.
So I think empowerment to me is not this like, it's not performative. It's not how
Mm.
much you say or how little you say. I think it all comes down to the most empowered I've ever felt or have started to feel was when I started becoming really, really honest
Mm.
and brave about the things that I was really insecure about. So I started like talking about it and I would like just put it out there like I'm feeling really insecure about my body or I'm feeling really insecure about not feeling like I'm doing enough or
Mm.
as a parent, as a mother you kind of
Oof.
just like whatever, the guilt, the shame, the but as soon as I started naming it and
Mm.
giving it kind of space and sitting in the discomfort of it, it let go of its hold on me.
Mm.
And I think empowerment is actually like leaning towards, and it's again, it's not performing something, it's like leaning towards those parts of ourselves that need a lot of love and care and compassion. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. Like it's hard, you know, it's hard.
Oh my gosh. I
So, and I think women, especially nowadays, sorry, but like I
no.
see, I'm watching social media and I think that there's a lot of talk about what it means to be like divine masculine, divine feminine, or what's the other word that people use? High value, like high value
Mm.
man, whatever,
Yes.
And I think that becomes really like that's a trap because
Mm.
again, what happens is people now start performing. They feel like they need to be performative in this space, or they feel like if I'm not that, that there's all this shame that comes with it, which perpetuates the problem to begin with, you know?
See? See, my wife's sister? This is like I feel like something again just landed for me as you said that, because I think that all of this comes back to the worthiness wound and the parts of us that project the ways that we don't feel enough out into the world, right? And certainly, like, if I demand perfection and I'm judging myself for not being perfect, whatever that means, then I'm going to demand that same perfection of everyone else. And I think I've just
Mm,
been so um, mm, like, heartbroken at times to see some of the dehumanization and the ways that we can just forget that we're talking to other human beings. And I understand that's the
mm,
nature of social media and the anonymity of, you can just like post things in people's
mhm,
comments that we would never say to their faces. But it just, in all of these ways, I feel like I'm like, God, how are we not wanting to rise into a different version of ourselves, the highest possible, knowing that we all have. Like, we know this isn't who we are, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think what you're saying, like, really helped it land for me. And it's really about the fact that we're not conscious with ourselves because we're defending against all of these insecurities. We're
mm,
defending against all of these things that we feel like if anybody ever knew this about me, then they would judge me and I would be eviscerated or whatever. So let me, say it
the
about whatever other distraction first, right? But yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
I think the greatest medicine for women, I can only speak for I actually know. I can speak from a woman's perspective, but I've witnessed it in men.
Mm,
I witnessed it with my son, with his friend groups. To be vulnerable, especially with other women, and be able to like show those parts of ourselves creates an empowering movement amongst it's like a collaborative
mm,
supportive environment. Like when we sit in circle with women, especially like I'm so lucky that I have such incredible, inspiring women like you
mm,
and that I surround myself with that I to be witnessed, to collaborate with them, like
mm,
that builds me up. It builds me up. Um so I think that is what I don't want to say missing, but that's what we need more of is this like groups and not just talking about business and doing and performance, but like really like this intimate being in the kitchen together and I'm not trying
mm.
to do like gender roles, but like get in the kitchen.
Mhm.
But being I for me cooking is so therapeutic. So like being in the kitchen and having a bunch of women just kind of collaborate and move and just the energetics of it and chatting and expressing and sharing like that is what creates empowered women too, that
Yes.
community. So I think we need more of that, this
Mm.
collective, togetherness.
And what's so funny about that is what you're speaking to is the innate wisdom in our ways of gathering as human animals and what we had historically done and knew that we needed. And I think there's all these ways, again, back to the intellectualization and the emphasis on that, that we did just decide what we need is to build an empire and to just be at work all the time and be in our
Mhm,
heads versus just in the space of being with one another and bearing witness to this human experience, which is ultimately just about being here. Like all of the other
mhm,
stuff is really irrelevant at the end of the day, right? Um,
mhm,
but we've just moved so far away from sitting in circles and just being present with the like, no, but how are you really? Can I hear about how you are? Um, with all the masks down, and I think certainly we as women have cultivated more of that. I mean, and to your point, maybe that is in large part the circles that we travel in is how we
mhm,
choose to spend our time, and we're really fortunate for that in that. But I think I I don't even as much see that with men, even in men's groups, there's
mhm,
still a lot of like performing and proving and sometimes what you were saying before about, like, these performative gender roles and, like, what you need
mhm,
to be a strong, high value man who's leading and all of these things, and really just not coming back to that space of integration, and it's something I'm so passionate about, Alex, and I don't always know. I'm like, "And how do we do it? How do we get there?" I mean, we're getting there. We're doing it bit by bit, but it feels like I just want everyone to join me in the circle. I'm like, "Come on, you guys, please, like, so we can do this. Just come back to each other."
But
Yeah.
you ask a lot of like your curiosity, and I've known you for some time. You've always been very curious about that, like the male experience and
Hmm.
being a mama to a little boy. And I think just your curiosity alone and that energetic
Mm.
of being open to it, I think is what is required right now is the curiosity. Like I think
Yes.
I also I don't want to I might you know um, ruffle some feathers. But I think that as women, we don't get curious. I mean, I get it. I understand why. I think we have to become really aware of the female experience and all the things that we've been through. But we have to get really curious about the male experience too, because a lot of the things that I'm hearing now, especially from men in their 30s and 40s, is I don't know who to be. Like
Mm.
society, like I don't know if I behave this way, like women are asking me to be this way, but this is not okay. And then there's this movement that goes against, so they're just kind of almost in this paralysis. They kind of don't know how to be, instead of
Yes.
going into that experience of like an embodied, centered, grounded self. And that causes a lot of violence towards self and others, I think, in many ways.
Absolutely, and, I will ruffle some feathers, and ladies, I love you, I'm okay with that, but I think what I do see a lot of, and, this is sometimes what Gloria Steinem was talking about when she would say the ways that we have traded our truth for comfort, and that the progression of women really is going to require we be honest with ourselves about some of the blind spots that we are still really resistant to look at. Like, how have I been complicit in the organization of these structures? Like, yes, we have been harmed as women. Yes, there has been a lack of equality, and the big
Hmm.
and is we are half of the population. These structures could not continue without our participation, and quite often, um, can we be some of the most strong upholders of some of these distorted systems, right? And so I think in order for us to change anything, all of us have to say exactly what you said. How can I be curious? Certainly about my part in these systems, but also what I don't understand about, you know,
Hmm.
if it's a gender thing, like what I don't understand about men or what I don't understand about people who've walked a different path in this life than I have. But there's just a lot of righteous indignation and we've all been there in our experience of that. But I think, yeah, the curiosity for me is a lot of what's been lacking from all of us, right?
When you spoke of like the collective inability to sit in discomfort, like holding
Mm.
many truths at once or being able to see another, like that is obviously being um, perpetuated in a society that's like everything is very accessible, it's very fast. So we're never
Mm.
really sitting in discomfort. I am one to blame for that too. You can order your groceries and you want pizza, it's going to be at your door, you know. So everything is so
Right.
quick. Anything that you want. Anything that
Yes.
you want that is like a quick fix, it can be delivered to you in an instant.
Mm.
Even scrolling, boom, dopamine hit, like anything that you need. And I think, you know, Pima Chodron was talking about meditation, and I've always said, like, I don't like to meditate. It's not something I
Mm.
actually enjoy doing, and I'm very honest about it. I do it, but I don't enjoy it. I mean,
Mm.
there are times where I feel very, grounded afterwards, and I know it's necessary. But, she was talking about the practice of meditation is not about this feel good practice. It's not about
Mm.
putting you into this space of Zen, although that can happen. That
Mhm.
practice is about strengthening your relationship to discomfort. So
Mm.
being able to stay in a place of like, you're not abandoning yourself or
Yes.
another when in discomfort. And it's like this containment, right? It's being able to be present with what is. And sometimes what is very uncomfortable. So I was thinking about that, like how we are not
Mm.
practicing, we're not strengthening that muscle of just stay. I might have different points of views. We might have differing, world views, but can I stay in the discomfort instead of go into the defensive or instead of trying to pull you into my viewpoint? And I mean, right now that's we see the cancel culture and everything. Like even the fact that you and I both said twice or three times, we might ruffle some feathers. Like there's a
Exactly.
vigilance around that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So increasing our capacity for discomfort, I think, is going to be a very beautiful tool for creating a different world.
Mm.
No.
Absolutely. And I think that the uncertainty of what that looks like feels really destabilizing, which is why we try so hard to cling on to the illusion of certainty or groupthink or, you know, just this is what it's been, so this is what it has to be, or this is what I've known to be true. And so I'm digging my heels in without that curiosity. But I think we have entered the era where all of the structures that have provided the illusion of certainty are shifting at a very rapid pace. And so, what you're speaking about in terms of that ability to stay with ourselves and stay in our bodies through discomfort, I think is the most crucial tool that we can possibly cultivate, in the next few years. If, I mean, I feel like hopefully we've been working on it a little bit. So if you haven't, now would be the time. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's that because the structures they are a changing, and I think with everything we were talking about with the technology and how the world as we've known it is going to be a very different world when our children are our age. Um, what does it mean to trust in something bigger and stay with ourselves and with team humanity, maybe be
Mhm.
on one another's team a little bit more as these shifts are occurring because they're happening. The world is going to change. So how do we
Yeah.
stay with
Whether we like
ourselves
it or
through it?
not. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of circles back to the initial conversation around going like first you got to work on the inward space
Mm.
and let's call it nervous system. I know it's being used a lot, but really can we feel can we operate from a place of a more calm, regulated space?
Mm.
And I think when that happens, we see the world differently. We
Yes.
could see it as a beautiful place to be in and not a place where we're constantly having to like be on guard. Um, so, and I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's a practice.
Mm. Ah, my love, you are just such a breath of fresh air, and the depth of your wisdom never ceases to amaze me.
Mm.
And I feel like I'm so excited that you are doing this coaching work and working with women. So if someone is listening and really resonating with you, as I know so many people will be, are you do you take clients or how would they go about that? What are you doing? Tell us about what you're
So
up to.
you can just reach out to me, and I usually offer discovery calls to see if there's alignment and if it's something that works well together, and then we move forward. So my approach is very much about creating a lot of awareness, space to feel, which is a somatic practice, and then integration is a big part of it. So the integration is the part that connects all those parts together. And like I said, for me, it's been what I needed for many,
Mm.
many years. So that's why I try to offer it to women that are experiencing that as well.
I'm just so, like, happy for them, truly, for anyone that has the gift of getting to work with you, because I think
Thank you.
being held in the loving embrace of your energy is, like, very little that I've experienced in this
Mm.
lifetime. You are just one of the most sacred beings, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life and to know you. And I'm so happy that you're answering the call to do this healing work because oh, do we need you in the world, my love?
You're like, I'm gonna nudge. I'm gonna
Like, I'm just saying,
nudge.
you are a powerful force. Whatever you choose to do with that is up to you. Mm.
Thank you for seeing me, and thank you for just always inspire me to, yeah, and it's part of that, having women in your life that see you
Oh,
and motivate you, and I'm really grateful for you too. Thank you for having me on too.
oh my
This was
goodness.
fun.
Thank you for coming, my love. So inspired and just adore you.
I adore you.